Hello, everyone. We are glad to see you again. Welcome to our video. And today we are going to discuss a very interesting question because one of our subscribers asked me a question about how come that we have decided to create a course in Spanish. Usually our project just makes courses in English. And we decided to talk about it a little bit. But first, I want to ask Danny several important questions because it is all very easy for me to speak about the listening materials for English, but it is not so easy when it comes to other languages. So I want to ask his recommendations about how to choose proper listening materials, especially if your level is not very high and you're a beginner. So, Danny, that's my question.
Okay, hi everybody. Yeah, so when I create content for my students, the main thing I am worried about is their level, all right? So I don't make content too boring for them because it's too easy or too challenging because it's too hard. Okay, so I try to make this content very oriented to the level of my students. Okay, so yeah, I choose words and sentences, and then I choose grammatical concepts adequate to that level, and with that content, with that tools, with those tools, I make the content, whether it is a video or an audio or text exercises or anything. So that's the main thing that I focus. After that, well, it depends in if the students ask for more grammar, I can add a little bit more grammar. If they ask for more conversation, I focus on that. So it's more on demand. So yeah, well, and that's for my students that have classes with me, and then for the general students that don't study with me, yeah, I focus on the level, and then I make the content, but more generally. I mean, not everyone has to know all the words that I teach in my classes. So I try to choose a vocabulary and grammar concepts that are generally studied in that level. For that, I use official documentation. Okay, there are some official schools, international schools or Spanish schools that specify very clearly which concepts and which words and which speed of speech or culture that they have to know for each level. Okay, so I go and yeah, make sure that the concepts are not out of range, and then I make the content and I try to make it entertaining because yeah, my students have to pay attention. So if it's boring, they don't pay attention, and that's the main thing I worry about. Do you do the same with your content in English?
I use a slightly different concept, but just because my students are usually higher in level. And normally I have students who are a little bit more advanced, and that is why I don't really adapt the material. I grade the tasks. So if their level is not very high, I try to give something easier as a task. For example, I ask them to grasp the general idea. But if their level is high, then I ask them to catch some specific details from the flow of speech. But that happens because they are usually much higher in level. When they get to me, they approximately B1, yeah, because they have been learning English for years. Some of them are much higher, yeah, and I do not have students who, or I do, but very rarely, who have never ever studied English before they get to me. Yeah, that is why I use a slightly different concept. How did you come up with an idea for your YouTube channel? Because actually your videos on YouTube were my first attempt of listening something in Spanish. Now, first attempt was songs by different Spanish and Latin American singers, and then were your videos on YouTube, which which were much clearer from the educational point of view.
So the idea came up, well, Lucas was my neighbor, so we decided to make a collaboration, and we chose 20 or 21 topics to talk about, and Anna and I were very happy to help, and we decided to create this content. So we choose those topics, and we talked about ourselves very naturally, not thinking about grammar or anything, just using a simple language as much as we could, although we said yeah, we talked a little bit freely, so we didn't care about that. And I think that's what makes the content original, right, and fun. So we talk about ourselves, so you get to know ourselves, and that's it. That's the main idea. And yeah, the result was great. So I remember when we first met, you and me, in Thailand, you told me you have to make more videos. I love them. So we and then until 21 videos.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I really liked them, and I actually benefited a lot from them because they were, on the one hand, they were very natural. So there was nothing artificial in them. So you just spoke
Nothing.
the way you speak, and it was great. And on the other hand, they were very clear, and they really improved my, they boosted my confidence. I thought, I can understand this language, so it means
Wow.
that I know something. That was cool. Yeah.
And that was even before you started studying Spanish with me. So
Yeah.
I think that was more just like B1 level or something like that. So I am very impressed that you could understand them.
But I always understand usually better than I speak. And this is one of the main problems because, for example, I can understand, I don't know, 90% of what people say in German. And I have a huge gap in between levels and listening skills and speaking skills. So I can understand almost everything, but I can say like a B1 student, and only in case that's an emergency and I must save my life. So yeah. Well, with Spanish, it is not like that. So now I think I have approximately the same level in listening and speaking. But yeah, originally it was like that. Yeah. And now getting back to the question about how we decided to create that course, well, the answer is very simple. I had a purely selfish reason for that. When I've run out of the materials, at a certain point, I ran out of the materials and I wanted more. And then I wanted to find some podcasts, but I couldn't find anything the way I wanted it with the methodologies that I normally use for listening. And then I said, Daddy, can you create something for me? So that was purely selfish, but I hope that many people will be able to benefit from that. So because we actually tried to use the same methodology that I normally use in my English courses, where we first train some prediction skills using pictures, and then we try to grasp the general idea, and then we try to grasp the details, and then separate words, and finally we try to use some sentences which we found in our listening exercises as a model, as a pattern to create your own story about your personal experience. So this is what we are going to do with you during this course. And I'm actually happy because I hope I would be a participant. I will be a tutor for the English part of the course, but as for the Spanish part of the course, I'm at least this is the thing that I have in mind. I will try to practice my writing skills. So
Oh, that would be awesome.
writing my reports in Spanish, because this is the part I never do, and I really must develop it. So I hope I will use it to my own advantage as well.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
wanted to point out just one thing. I made a huge effort in this listening course to use very appropriate content for every lesson and to try to use a grammar concept in every lesson that then we explain a little bit in the lesson too. So it's very accurate and precise vocabulary and grammar, just very very useful for the level that is written for, which is A2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it gives a lot of very important grammar concepts, and that is why I'm really happy, because this will give an opportunity to me and to other participants to practice some very important vocabulary, but also to practice some very important grammar structures that really structure, I don't know, I think about 50% of the whole conversation, yeah, because they're so basic, they are kind of a foundation for everything you're going to say further. Yeah. Okay, Danny, thank you very much for joining me today. Yeah, I hope we will do it again next week. Yeah, so we will have another topic to discuss, and we are preparing a little secret gift for you, our dear listeners. No, not for you, for them.
I want a present too.
Yeah, well, okay, I will think about it. But our dear viewers, we are preparing a little secret gift for you, which we are going to tell you about next week. That is why you will have to follow us and wait for some very important thing we want to share with you. Okay, see you next week. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.